The United States has more immigrants than any other country in the world. Currently, more than 40 million people living in the US were born in another country. Since 1965, the number of immigrants living in the US has more than quadrupled. Immigrants currently account for 13.6% of the US population, nearly triple the share of 4.7% in 1970. 77% immigrants are in the country legally, while almost a quarter are unauthorized. This 77% comprises of 45% naturalized US citizens, 27% permanent residents, and 5% temporary residents. 23% of all immigrants were unauthorized, that is 3.2% of the total US population. Mexicans made up less than half of all unauthorized US immigrants at 47%. 18% were from Central America, 14% were from Asia, 21% from other countries. From 1990 to 2007, the unauthorized immigrant population more than tripled in size, from 3.5 million to a record high of 12.2 million. By 2017, that number had declined by 1.7 million. Mainly because number of Mexican unauthorized immigrants declined since 2007. There were 6.9 million Mexican unauthorized immigrants in 2007. In 2017, this number had reduced to 4.9 million. Majority of US immigrant population is from these countries. 11.2 million from Mexico, 2.9 million from China, 2.6 million from India, 2 million from Philippines, 1.4 million from El Salvador. By region of birth, immigrants from South and East Asia combined account for 27% of all immigrants. Close to the share of immigrants from Mexico, 25%. Other regions make up smaller shares. Europe, Canada 13%. The Caribbean 10%. Central America 8%. South America 7%. The Middle East 4%. And Sub-Saharan Africa 4%. More than 1 million immigrants arrive in the US each year. In 2017, the top country of origin for new immigrants coming into the US was India, with 126,000 people, followed by Mexico, 124,000, China, 121,000, and Cuba, 41,000. Since the creation of the Federal Refugee Resettlement Program in 1980, about 3 million refugees have been resettled in the US, more than any other country. In year 2018, a total of 22,491 refugees were resettled in the US. Out of which 16% were Muslims, 71% were Christians, and 13% were other religion. By 2065, immigrant population is projected to reach 78.2 million, which was 9.6 million in 1965. If the current trend continues, here is a projection for every 10 years based on different ethnic groups. 2015, 2025, 2035, 2045, 2055, 2065. Asians are projected to become the largest immigrant group in the US by 2065, surpassing Hispanics. Immigrants in the US, as a whole, have lower levels of education than the US-born population. Immigrants were 3 times as likely as the US-born to have not completed high school. 27% versus 9%. Educational attainment varies among the nation's immigrant groups, particularly across immigrants from different regions of the world. Immigrants from Mexico and Central America are less likely to be high school graduates than the US-born. 54% and 46%, respectively, do not have a high school diploma. Among all immigrants, those from South and East Asia, 53%, and the Middle East, 48%, were the most likely to have a bachelor's degree or more. Immigrants from Mexico, 7%, and Central America, 11%, were the least likely to have a bachelor's or higher. In 2017, estimates show that there were 164.4 million civilian labor force, out of which 135.7 million, or 82.5%, were US-born. 21.2 million, or 12.9%, were lawful immigrants. 7.6 million, or 4.6%, were unauthorized immigrants. Immigration projected to drive growth in U.S. working-age population through at least 2035. Here is a projection of change in U.S. workforce population for ages of 25 to 64. Immigrants, 33.9 million in 2015, will rise to 38.5 million in 2035. U.S. born with immigrant parents will rise from 11.1 to 24.6 million. U.S. born with U.S.-born parents will decrease from 128.3 to 120.1 million. Total number of adults in the prime working ages of 25 to 64, 173.2 million in 2015, will rise to 183.2 million in 2035. Among the nation's immigrants, Spanish is by far the most spoken non-English language at 43%. Other non-English language spoken by immigrants include Mandarin or Cantonese at 6%. 5% speak Indian languages Hindi or other. 4% speak Filipino or Tagalog. 3% speak Vietnamese. 3% speak French. And 2% speak Dravidian. 18% speak other languages. Apprehensions at the U.S.-Mexico border have risen sharply in the first half of the 2019 fiscal year. There were 361,087 apprehensions between October 2018 to March 2019. People traveling in families accounted for the majority of apprehensions in 2019. Compared to 2013, where only 2% apprehensions for family units, increased to 53% in 2019. El Paso region saw a 547% surge in migrant apprehensions in the first half of fiscal 2019 compared with the first half of fiscal 2018. From 10,975 to 71,063. In the first 6 months of fiscal 2019, border authorities apprehended more non-Mexicans than Mexicans. Non-Mexicans accounted for 62% of apprehensions in all of fiscal 2018. By contrast, in year 2000, non-Mexicans accounted for just 2% of apprehensions while Mexicans accounted for 98%. The distribution of prisoners by their region of origin shows that 7.27% of all prisoners are from Latin America, while 90.64% were born in the United States, and 2.09% are from rest of the world. 62% Americans say immigrants strengthen the country because of their hard work and talents, while about 28% say immigrants burden the country by taking jobs, housing and health care. What is your opinion about immigrants? Do you think immigrants strengthen the country, or they are a burden to the country?